Do you like sugar? Have you noticed your cravings for sugar and carbs have been way more intense since you've hit perimenopause and menopause? Well, if so, this is normal. You are not crazy, and it's not your fault. I want to show you how to take back control to reduce your cravings and make these more manageable. I'm Nicole Dalton. I'm a women's health coach for weight loss, and I work with women 35 and older through perimenopause and menopause to lose weight. I have a background as a family medicine physician assistant for over 20 years as well, and I am a wife and a mom to 3 boys, 18, 14, and 11 years old. I want to help you lose weight and take control of your body and mind so you can live the second half of life the way you envision, full of energy and feeling fit so you can take those new adventures and travel with ease and love on your family members, especially those grandbabies. If you are ready to stop wasting your time trying yet another diet, and you want to lose weight using real food to make this a lifestyle, then let me show you how. Join me on a free consult call, and come on, join me with my free Facebook community, Weight Loss for Midlife Women. I will link both of these in the show notes below. So my husband and I and our oldest son, that's 18, just recently got back from an extraordinary trip from Italy. And I can't wait to share with you. It was amazing. We saw so many wonderful sights, and it was a trip of a lifetime. But I want to share with you, before we dig in, something that you ladies will probably be able to relate to during this Italian adventure. Okay, so if you're looking for a travel agent, you've got to contact my friend Amy Barraclaw. She is a fellow PA mom and a travel agent, and I tell you, we could not have done this trip without her, especially when I went to her and I said, Amy, I really need some help making this trip to Italy work for a graduation present for our son, and we want to explore the off the beaten paths in Italy via camper van, right? I was surprised she didn't lose it and just hang up on me. So Amy, you're awesome. But she was so easy to work with. She totally listened, and we worked together so she could come up with an itinerary that was just amazing. And I tell you, we didn't get lost. Everything ran so smoothly because she had this perfect itinerary that I could just print out and also have online of step-by-step how to make our Italian adventure work. And she was very affordable. So if you are ready to plan your next vacation and travel, she is awesome. I'll put her information in the show notes. Check her out and give her a call because she can help you plan any adventure, any vacation. She's awesome. Thanks again, Amy. So let me tell you a little bit more about our Italian adventure, okay? And I want to share with you what I wasn't planning on at all, okay? I'm a planner. I like to plan. I usually plan my own vacations, but this time it was too big of a task, right? I didn't know anything about Italy. I don't know the Italian language, right? I felt very uncomfortable planning a trip in a camper van to these off the beaten path sites without Amy's help. So she planned the whole trip amazing, but I was not planning for this. Okay, so I want you to picture a perimenopausal woman. It might have just been me, okay, who is in her PMS week in this tiny but super clean camper van with 2 other men without air conditioning. And in Italy, it was 100 and over, 100 degrees. It was super hot. My hot flashes, they were just on fire. I was irritable because it was my PMS week and it was super hot. And jet lag and just poor sleep because the jet lag and not sleeping, the schedules were all screwed up. This was all on full force. And plus, on top of that, I started my period a few days early, okay? And so take this into account. So picture this perimenopausal woman stuck in this camper van, on fire, period started early, no air conditioning, right? My sugar cravings were ridiculous. And by the way, P.S., if you have some great tips on how you have knocked your sugar cravings, please share them. I am up for any special tips and advices from you. So please share them. I would love to hear what you have found is successful for you. But I've learned that when I am triggered for my sugar cravings, it tends to be when I'm really tired. And I've always been surprised by that. But and some emotional triggers, but we'll save that for another time. Okay. So anyway, so I was super tired on this trip. It was wonderful, despite all of my things that I was dealing with. But I was surrounded by the cutest little cafes, bakeries. They were full of homemade bread and Nutella-filled croissants. So I went to Italy. I did not like Nutella before I went, but I left just loving Nutella because Nutella's in everything. They had these huge jars of Nutella everywhere, and they would pump these croissants and pastries just full of Nutella. Never seen anything like it. There was these fluffy, creamy pastries, fresh gelato, and so many noodles that they were literally coming out of my ears. I'm joking, but there's actually a noodle called the orecchietta noodle, and the Italian word for ear is orecchio. So I learned about noodles too. So anyway, my brain was telling me to mangia or eat all the sugar and flour that was all around me. And I was extra giving it to my cravings at times, only because I was super tired too. And I want to explain why this is happening. So I was so excited when we did get home from our Italian adventure to join my ladies that I'm currently coaching. We had a 2-week real food reset. And I tend to run this every few months for my coaching clients because, let's face it, life is life. Things come up, unpredictable, unexpected things that sometimes we just need a kind of a reset. And so boy, was I ready to get back on that. So let's dig in. I want you to understand why these cravings are here in the first place and why they are so intense during perimenopause and menopause. The more you understand the why, then the more likely you can actually control these cravings a bit more. So I'm going to focus on just 2 things here, the brain and our hormones, okay? So the brain, think cave woman, okay? I want you to think about that. And in fact, I'm here in my woman cave because it's summertime and the boys are all home from school. They're kind of in and out. Their friends are in and out and they're kind of loud and they're always in the kitchen and they're always loud in the kitchen. And so my office is actually like next to the kitchen. So I came down into my woman cave to make this video for you all. So that's why I'm here in my woman cave. But think cave woman. This cave woman brain is not evolved, right? This cave woman brain is about hunting and gathering food, okay? Now I want you to think of that same cave woman in our life now, okay? With abundant food everywhere, and that's us now, okay? So our human brain is designed to keep us safe. It's called the motivational triad. Okay, so the brain is taught or created to keep us safe by avoiding pain, exerting the least amount of effort, and seeking out pleasure. That's how our human brain is designed. And it makes sense for the cave woman who's trying to run away from cougars and lions and trying to go find food for herself, right? But now fast forward to a cave woman in our times now, our brains just have not evolved enough yet to catch up with our present time where there's food that is abundant and just everywhere. The reason I tell you this is because now we need to introduce sugar and a little bit of flour, but sugar, okay? So when we eat sugar, our brains release dopamine. Dopamine is a happy chemical. It's the brain's reward system, okay? So when we eat sugar or do drugs or have sex or gamble, scroll through our phones, get notifications on social media, socialize, exercise, all of these things increase our dopamine, okay? Dopamine is a reward system in our brain, and it tells us that, oh, hey, I'm happy. This is the happy chemical, right? And when we do these things, it releases dopamine, okay? So out of all of these examples that I listed off, sugar actually highlights the brain the most during scans, even more than cocaine. So we eat sugar and our brain goes haywire. We're like super happy, right? So when our brain sees sugar, our brain is telling us to eat it because of this motivational triad. It's seeking out pleasure, and our brains haven't evolved enough yet in our current world. So the more we eat sugar and get a dopamine rise and we feel happy, we are creating this habit because we continue to practice this, right? We see sugar, we eat it, we get happy, and we just continue to do it. And this causes neural pathways in our brain to form, and it actually causes and creates the habits, okay? And that's what keeps us doing this behavior over and over, okay? Stick with me here. And this is why we often feel out of control or like we are eating against our will. This is never true, but it sure feels like that. It sure feels like it's true, okay? But good news here, our brains can be reprogrammed by changing the action and denying the reward. If you've not come across the book Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lembke, you can dig in way more on this topic by that book. I actually got to see her present at a conference last year, and she was amazing. The book is amazing. I've learned a lot reading the book as well. But we'll dig into more on next week's video with how to reprogram and retrain our brain to then not give in to the urges. But I still want to explain a little bit more of why we have these urges here in the first place, okay? And the second thing is the hormones, okay? So now we have dopamine in our brains that are just not fully developed to, there's still this primitive mind, think cave woman, okay? So now we introduce sugar to this cave woman who's now in menopause or perimenopause, okay? Oh boy, this is like a pair that just simply doesn't work well together. Menopause years and sugar, that's like, no, like that does not work. And I want to explain why. So I'm going to talk about 6 hormones real quick. I bet you have heard about 4 of these hormones: estrogen, progesterone, insulin, and cortisol, okay? You probably have heard about these already, but the 2 hormones you might not have heard about yet is leptin and ghrelin, okay? So like we didn't have enough hormones to already wreak havoc in our body. Now we also know that there's other hormones, leptin and ghrelin. So all of these hormones all work together to make these sugar cravings super intense. So leptin is the hormone that tells us that we are full, okay? But when our insulin levels are high, that blocks leptin. So insulin blocks leptin. So in perimenopause and menopause, as our estrogen and progesterone levels are declining, what rises is insulin and cortisol. Insulin and cortisol at higher levels, that's why we're storing our weight, especially around our bellies. But when we have higher insulin levels, right, it's blocking leptin. So we're not even feeling full as quickly as we did in our 30s or 20s, okay? So, and then the second hormone is ghrelin. Ghrelin, think growl. So ghrelin lets us know when we are hungry or we're no longer hungry, okay? So the problem with ghrelin during perimenopause and menopause is that when we have these higher insulin levels and we're somewhat insulin resistant through perimenopause and menopause, these higher insulin levels will cause our blood sugars to fluctuate a bit more, okay? But when our blood sugar drops down a bit, this actually signals to ghrelin, tells ghrelin that we are hungry and we need carbs and sugar, okay? So not only are insulin levels high, that's what's causing us to store weight around our bellies, but it's also then signaling ghrelin to tell us that we need more carbs and sugars. So as you can see, it's not our fault, right? Like we have all these internal hormones at play, and it's like a roller coaster, and it's telling our brains that we need sugar and flour, okay? And sugar and carbs. So, but even when we're not hungry, or even when we don't need sugar and carbs, our brain is still telling us that. So this is literally why these menopausal years feel so out of control and like a roller coaster, because all of these hormones are all out of whack, and this causes all our sugar and carb cravings. Isn't that, like, I know this is way more information that you want to know, but the more you learn why this is happening and what's going on internally, it makes us feel less crazy, right? It's good to know all this information so then you can manage these sugar cravings, okay? But the good thing is, and the last thing I want to leave you with, is we can reprogram our brain. Next week, I'm going to share how to do this, okay? So you can reduce your cravings and make them more manageable. Ciao.